All right. For sure.
Get Google Pixel 8 on us on Google Fi Wireless. No trade-in required. This is Pixel 8, the phone engineered by Google, featuring Google AI and an amazing camera. Pair Pixel 8 with our Unlimited Plus plan so you can enjoy high-speed hotspot tethering and international data in over 200 destinations, all at no extra cost. Get Pixel 8 on us with the Unlimited Plus plan. Order yours today on Google Fi Wireless.
Hello, my YouTube friends. Today's video is by Owned, but I'm gonna tell you about that more later. You're here because you're experiencing dropped frames in your live streams. This is a common problem, especially for new streamers. When you're just learning, it's really hard to know where to look to figure out what's causing the problem. So today I'm gonna tell you the 5 things that you should check first if your streams are dropping frames. So you know what? Let's get to it. Likes and comments are super easy things that you can do to push this video to a wider audience. So take a second down below and let me know how I'm doing, and hit that subscribe button. It's totally free and it really does help me continue to make content that helps you. So thanks. The first thing you need to check is the stats window while you're live streaming. So while you're live streaming, you go into OBS, you go to view, and then you're going to go to stats, and it's bringing up this stats window right here. You can see I brought this up while I was live streaming, and it shows you the CPU usage that you have over here on the left in the top pane. You have your frames per second, the average amount of time it takes to render a frame, and then you have your render and your encoding lag. And this is going to be shown by frames drop. In this case, I had 21 frames drop from render lag and 0 frames drop from encoding lag. If this is bad for you, one of these will be in red. In the lower pane, you can see that this is the actual health of the stream from a network perspective. I have 0 dropped frames, and you can see my bit rate over there on the right hand side. That's the 6000 that I use, plus whatever the bit rate is for the audio. So just keep in mind that the audio is generally added to the 6000 bit rate on your video. So it's not unusual for your bit rate to be a touch over 6000, or whatever bit rate you have set, because that bit rate doesn't actually include the audio. And once again, if I was having problems or difficulties with my upload speed, this would be red and we'd be dropping a lot of frames. So this is the first thing you want to check, and you want to do it while you're live streaming. That's the only thing that's going to give you the information that you need to go to the next step. Now we know which process is causing our dropped frames, and if no dropped frames showed up in the stats window, then it could be a matter of how you're sending the signal to the streaming service. So if your stats look good, the next thing you need to check is the proper settings for your streaming service. First, before you check your streaming service settings, are you streaming on Wi-Fi? If so, then you can stop troubleshooting right here. Plug your machine in and try again. Wi-Fi is great for surfing the web and watching movies on your iPad, but it's not for live streaming. Here is the YouTube streaming service page, and it basically has all the information that we need to set up our stream so it will properly run on YouTube. If we go down here to 1920 by 1080 at 60 frames per second, it lists the resolution and the video bitrate that we should have, and the same thing for 1080 at 30 frames per second. Then when we go down here, we can see our encoding settings, what it's expecting from a video codec perspective. how many keyframes we should have, the audio codec, the bitrate encoding, CBR. These are things that you can check and set in your OBS so that you can make sure that you're streaming the way that YouTube wants to receive it. And if you do that, you're going to get much better results on their end without dropped frames. The same thing goes for Twitch. It's right here. This actually has specs for NVIDIA encoder and the X264 encoder. Each one of these has the kind of settings that you're going to find right in OBS so you can set it up properly. You have your preset as quality. It gives you your B frames. It gives you your bit rate, everything that you could possibly need on both NVIC and X264. So if you set your settings up right, you shouldn't be dropping any frames at all when you stream to Twitch. And Facebook is no different. It gives you all the information on this page right here. All three of these pages are linked in the description so you can check them out. And they're going to give you all the information that you need to stream at the resolution that you're streaming at. You can see here we've got the CBR encoder. It tells you need to be in 16:9 aspect ratio. It wants H.264, the common standard stuff. And most of your settings are already set up this way, but maybe they're not. Maybe your bit rate is too high. If you're streaming at a bit rate that's too high, these encoders that are on the service side are going to have to re-encode your stream, in which case you don't know what you're going to get. If you stream it at the proper bit rate right out of OBS, your results are going to be much better. Owned is a website that offers anything a Twitch streamer could possibly want. On Own.tv, there are thousands of overlay packs with alerts and stingers built in, as well as emotes and badges, and like I said, just about everything you could want. But what really excites me is the Own Pro site. On Own Pro, you download a plugin for OBS, and in OBS, you can browse and select from thousands of overlay packs that download and are set up completely right out of the gate in OBS. You can add alerts and labels and modify the text and even create custom layouts in just a few minutes. And they all have custom stingers that are set up with the profile so you don't have to do anything. You just download them and they're ready to go. In just a few minutes, you're gonna have a professional stream that looks like you spent $1 million. The best part is for just a few bucks a month, and I mean less than that crappy Netflix subscription you never use anyways, you're gonna have access to every single one. So you could change it up on every stream in just a few minutes if you really will. There are links in the description. A long way towards helping me continue. More than likely, your problem did show up in the stats window. So the next issue is encoding or rendering frames lost in the stats window. And while this is two separate things, the contributing factors are generally exactly the same. The third thing you should check is your encoding settings. So we need to go into our settings window, and we're going to start on the output section of the settings window. And here we want to verify that we have the proper encoder selected. If you have an NVIDIA encoder, it should be NVINC. If you don't, it's probably X264. We want to make sure the rate control is the same as it was in our stream settings for the application that we're streaming to, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Put section of the settings window. And here we want to verify that we have the proper encoder selected. If you have an NVIDIA encoder, encoding or rendering frames lost in the stats window. And while this is two separate things, the contributing factors are generally exactly the same. The third thing you should check is your encoding settings. So we need to go into our settings window, and we're going to start on the output section of the settings window. And here we want to verify that we have the proper encoder selected. If you have an NVIDIA encoder, it should be NVINC. If you don't, it's probably X264. We want to make sure the rate control is the same as it was in our stream settings for the application that we're streaming to, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. I think all three of them are CBR, so just make sure it's CBR. Next, we want to check our bitrate and make sure that it falls into the acceptable range listed for the resolution that we want to stream at. Now, if you are getting all kinds of problems in the encoding section, this is where you can downgrade your encoding a little bit. If you notice, most of the streaming services had ranges for the actual resolution that you want to stream at. So you can try your bitrate at the lower end of that and see if it fixes your problem. Then you have your preset and all that stuff, which was listed on the Twitch one, and your B frames and your keyframes are both here as well. You want to check out all these settings. If we flip over to X264, it's a little different. You're still going to set your rate control and your bit rate properly, and you have your keyframes down here that you can set as well. Then when we go to the CPU usage preset, well, we found this on Twitch as well, and you want to set it to the appropriate level for that. If you're streaming to YouTube or Facebook, which don't list the preset that they like, that's okay. Just test this to see what's going to work for you.
Let's talk about bitrate and how it affects the videos you upload. Right now, I'm shooting this in 1080p. Sometimes I'll save my video in 1080p, and sometimes I'll save it in 4K. When I'm dealing with 1080p footage, my bitrate, or my quality per second of video footage, is gonna be 10 megabits per second. Versus if I'm exporting to 4K, you actually need to 4 times that, or quadruple that, to 40 megabits per second. Whoa, why did it get so big? Well, if you take a 1080p video file, you can actually fit it 4 times into a 4K file. That's because it doubles in each direction, which essentially quadruples the amount of pixels you have in one frame of video. So make sure if you're exporting higher resolution video files that you maintain a relative amount of bitrate so that your quality doesn't suffer. Hopefully that made sense. Let's